Early one Sunday morning.
Breakfast was on the table.
Well, it's early, but it's not Sunday. I have a brisket to cook today. You guys are gonna join me. It is early. Go Birds. But I'm using the Traeger because it is a single brisket. So I'm going to get my Traeger cleaned out. It has been far too long for me to honestly remember how long it's been since I've cleaned it out. But I'm gonna get this cleaned out and then we'll get our brisket trimmed and set out here on the Traeger. Get ready. All right, so first thing, let's get the grate out of the way, the diverter plate out of the way, and the foil. This thing has some cooks on it. I remember when I first got the Traeger, there were people who commented that this little plate, this little diverter plate, was not going to last. It's still alive and kicking. I mean, and I don't do anything to it aside from put aluminum foil on it. Now, I mean, is it a little worse for wear? Yes, but I'll have to go back. I think this Traeger is 7 or 8 years old.
Flashback.
Let me just say, I have the best wife ever. FedEx Freight. Wonder what that could be. What was on this pallet? Yo! Oh my goodness. I have a Traeger.
End of flashback.
And hey. And as you guys see, I use this Traeger. One of the things you guys don't see, I use this Traeger, I won't say a lot more than you think, but I use it off camera as much as I do on camera. Don't move. Let me get the internal diverter out of the way. And I've showed you guys this before. I have this little DeWalt vacuum, battery operated, that I use to get all the ash out of here. Up here's the extension piece. So cleaning out the fire pot. Oh, did you want to see? Oh, okay, all right. And at this point, I'm gonna go ahead and get it started. We'll get it reassembled. I completely forgot to vacuum off that shelf. Okay. at this point, I'll leave the door open for it to come up to temperature. Once it comes up to temperature, I'll close the door, and by the time I start get my brisket trimmed and seasoned, it'll be ready to come out here onto the smoker.
One minute, 37 seconds later.
All right, and just like that, the smoker is rolling and we are ready to close the door. And I'm gonna go ahead inside and get my brisket trimmed. All right, so I'm back in the house and I have my brisket here. I'm gonna get it cut open. This brisket is starting life. It is 12.63 pounds. When I cut my briskets open, I normally cut them in the plastic along the fat decal, since I know that I'm gonna be, I won't say discarding, because I now have a meat grinder. It's doing it. So I won't be discarding the fat like I normally would, but I'm gonna get this opened up, and because I'm doing this in the sink, I am going to rinse my brisket off. Yes, I'm rinsing my brisket.
Through. Well, why you booing me? I'm right.
Sue me. I'm rinsing my brisket for two reasons. I'm just rinsing just the extra bits of juices in this package off and out. And two, I use the water as a binder for when I season the brisket. All right, so we're gonna get the package set here, and I'm actually going to use it to capture the fat that I cut off of this brisket that I will be using to render to make some tallow. All right, I normally always start with the underside of the brisket. And if you don't know the anatomy of a brisket, I always consider this the top side of my briskets. I always cook fat side up. You can, again, fight me in the comments. This is how I do my briskets. You can do briskets however you like. But this is my presentation side, the fat cap up. And so I always refer to this as the top of the brisket and this as the bottom of the brisket. So this is where you have your flat, and this is where the point is. And again, I'm gonna come in here and I'm gonna cut this big decal of fat out. It is not gonna render, so I'm gonna come in and aggressively trim and cut this whole piece of fat out. And I'm gonna save that for later. I'm not gonna just simply cut across this and make it flat or aerodynamic. I am literally cutting off of the fat. And I am not gonna spend a lot of time trimming this brisket. I am catering. And the more brisket that I have when I'm finished, the more money I make. So some of the silver skin I am not going to put in my tallow pile, even though it wouldn't matter. But this little bit of fat here, I'm gonna come in and cut it out. The more fat you cut off and out of the brisket before you cook it, the faster your brisket will cook. All right, underside trimmed. I'm gonna cut this piece off right here just because it's hanging out, flapping around. And we'll get it flipped over. Now this, I trim my briskets rather aggressively. I can see that there is a pretty decent amount of fat here. I'm taking my time and I'm coming in and cutting the majority of this fat on this edge of the brisket off. I can see that there's more fat here. I am putting the knife or moving the knife towards my hand. I'm taking my time and making sure the knife is headed in towards the meat and not towards my hand, so that in case it slips, it doesn't nick me. And I, like I said, trim my briskets rather aggressively. The more fat you take off at this point, the faster the brisket will cook. A lot of this fat that's on the top of the fat cap will actually render down a bit, but folks in my area don't like paying for fat, so I trim it off. That's it. This particular brisket, that is it. I'm even gonna leave this little flap here. It'll be okay, because I'm gonna season it and tuck it up in there, and it'll be fine. All right, that's it. So at this point, I'm gonna season it. You guys will see me back out at the smoker once it's seasoned and I'm ready to put it on the smoker. All right, so back out at the Traeger. I told you guys before, I've showed you guys before, for some of you guys who are new here, when I use my Traeger to do longer cooks, I like to add water to the Traeger. So I have these little pans that reside in the cooker basically, and I'm just gonna fill them up with warm water. No need to suck some of the heat of the smoker out and using it to warm up the water. Why not start with warm water? All right, get that out of the way for a moment, and I'm just gonna get this down in here. Oh, you guys love to see what I'm doing, right? So I'm just gonna get the water, if I can get it in here without spilling it all, in, down and back into the back corner of the cooker. And while I have that there just like that, I'll be right back. I'm gonna go get my brisket. Back with my brisket, and we're just gonna chuck this on here. So I'm gonna try to get it over the middle of the grate as best possible. Pat in my rub. Is there any areas? We're not gonna rub, we're just patting. Any bald spots? We'll get this closed off. All right, at this point, I'm gonna leave this alone. I have the cooker set to 225 degrees. I'll see it in 2 hours. Well, I see it and you guys in 2 hours. All right, we are like 2.5 hours in. Oh shoot, I forgot my thermometer over here. And I know the brisket's obviously not done. They're nowhere near ready to come off, but I'm just going to temp it so I can get an idea on where it is in the cook process. Also, go birds. Oh yeah. Get that. So, hopefully you can see it. There you go. 120 degrees. We're nowhere near ready. And there you go. You can see the moisture coming off of the containers back there. But there is my brisket. It's looking good. say I really don't need to check on this again, but I'll check on it again in another hour just to, you know, just so you guys can see. So I almost forgot while I was out here, my intention was to come and spray it, but I'm missing just the tip.
What?
In an effort to get it to work so I can spray my brisket. RIP to a good one. I've had this sprayer for a long time.
They ask you how you are, you just have to say that you're fine when you're not really fine, but you just can't get into it because they would never understand.
Woo. I need to go buy a new sprayer. All right, it's been another hour. So we're looking at, I think we're going on 4 hours now, just about. And look at that brisket, and some decent color there. Woo, all around that edge. Let's pop in the thermometer, check the temp. There we go, 130, 132 degrees. We're moving right along, and I'm going to make do with this sprayer today. There we go. My errands this afternoon are going to include a trip to Harbor Freight to get a new sprayer. Don't you worry. Oh my gosh. Gotta do what you gotta do sometimes, and this is one of those times. Traeger Brisket. Yeah. The sound of the Traeger is something that I'm walking here. I'm walking here. I'm walking here. I don't know. It's just one of those things. It is oddly, I'd say, reassuring. All right, so let's see. So showing the temperatures at 218 degrees. I have it set for 225. And let's see down in here. Brisket is looking fine. It has been another hour. Let's check the temperature, and we're still at 130 degrees. So I guess it might be in the stall. I mean, I don't really honestly ever check the temperature so much. I just kind of leave it out here for a while. And at this point, I'm going to spray it again with my broken sprayer.
Struggle is real, bro. Struggle is real.
All right. I'm going to give it another about half an hour. Then we'll be at the, actually we'll let it go for another hour. Just let it sit out here. I'm not in a rush. This is not, it's not for like, say, a timed event or anything. The person that wants this brisket or wants a good portion of this brisket just kind of asked me to cook it, and I told him I'd bring it to him kind of when it was done. So like I said, I'm not in a rush. I'll be back out here in a little bit, and then I will get it into the oven and finish. All right, so it's been another hour, and it's time to get this brisket off of the Traeger. It's been out here for almost 6 hours. Normally, I don't normally let them go for this long, and I also don't normally cook at such a low temperature. I'm cooking today at 225 degrees, where I had this thing setting in here at 225 degrees in an effort to get some more smoke flavor on this brisket. So let's get it opened up, see what it looks like, and then I'm going to get it in a foil pan, and we're going to finish it in the house in the oven. All right, we're definitely looking good. We have good redness. The color doesn't come off on camera as well as I would like, but let's check the temperature. And almost 140 degrees there. There you go, there's 140 degrees. Because of the fact that I am cooking at or I have this sitting at such a low temperature, normally I'd be doing briskets at 250 or 275 degrees if I was really trying to speed this along. But because I know this Traeger does not put out nearly as much smoke flavor as I would like, that's why I have it sitting in here at a lower temperature for a longer period of time. Where typically at 250 or 275 degrees, in 4 hours, my brisket would be at 150 or 160 degrees. Obviously here at a lower temperature, it's gonna take a lot longer to get it up to temperature, but I'm doing that in an effort to get more smoke flavor. But like I said, I'm gonna go ahead and get this brisket out of the smoker and into the pan, and you guys are gonna watch what I put into this pan, all right? Just hold on, pay attention. Watch what I put in the pan with the brisket. Nothing. I don't add anything to the pan. Actually, I probably should have sprayed the pan with some Pam just so that there isn't any stickage of the juices from the brisket once they come out. Because I have this because I'm pulling this at such a low temperature, we're going to capture so much more jus than you would if you didn't. All right, I'm gonna get this in the house. I'll see you guys there. All right, again, I didn't add anything to the pan in the trip from the smoker outside of on the side of the house to inside the kitchen. I started my oven and have it at 300 degrees. I'm going to cover my brisket. I'm not adding anything to this pan, no tallow, no beef broth. It doesn't need it. All I'm gonna do is cover it, put it in the oven, wait 2 hours just about, it'll be done, and I'll show you guys the end result. All right, so I have my foil and I'm covering it up. You missed it, or I missed it. The oven just came up to temperature, so it's at 300 degrees. I'm gonna get the brisket into the oven, wrapped tightly in foil. That is it. Nothing else needs to go in here. Try it my way. I'm telling you, it's fine. So I'm gonna get in the oven. Due to the fact that it is at such a low temperature, it's at about 140 degrees, it might take 2.5 hours, maybe 3, for it to get to about between 200 and 205 degrees. At 200 degrees, I'm gonna start checking it for probe tenderness, but it's just hot enough. All right, so I'm putting this in here and I have a bunch of room, so I'll be able to get my probe in there, but I'm not gonna throw a probe in there for another hour or so, and I'll see you guys in a bit. All right, so almost exactly 2 hours later, just like I said, the brisket has reached its done temperature, and we're gonna probe it. Ooh. And it is right. So go ahead and get this out of here. Set that down on the counter. All right, so it is a brisket, and as you see, there's lots of jus down in here. Now, if I was trying to hurry up and trying to let this cool faster, I would remove the jus from the brisket so that the jus isn't keeping it warm. But I am not in a rush. This is for someone that pretty much gave me carte blanche on the time it took me to make this brisket for them. So like I said, I'm not in a rush, I'm not in a hurry. I'm actually going to be trying to finish editing the video that I started, you know, this video while I'm letting this rest. I'm going to try to let this rest for a good maybe hour and a half before I do any sort of slicing of this brisket. And then once I pick up taste tester number 3 from school, once I get back home, I will probably talk to the person who this is for and talk to them about delivering it to them later this evening. Anyway, I guess I'll bring you guys back once I'm done letting it rest, and I'll show you me slicing it up. All right, I'm gonna cover this up loosely. I'm gonna loosely tent this, leave you know, an escape hatch for the heat. And I'm gonna let it sit right here just like this. I'm not putting it in a cooler. I do want the temperature to come down. I want it to cool. To me, when you put a brisket into a cooler, you are hot holding it. And hot holding it, in my opinion, is going to make it, I don't know, in my opinion, I think it's going to continue to cook if you put it into a cooler and leave it at that same temperature, versus letting it cool and it is stopping the cooking process. Anyway, I'm gonna get back to editing. I'll see you guys in about 2 hours. All right, I've finished the edit so far. Let's get over there and slice this brisket. All right, so wet paper towel going down because my cutting board has a curve to it. Let's move this out of the way. This is actually taste tester number 3's birthday cake. Her birthday was over the weekend. So if you want to comment happy birthday to taste tester number 3, please feel free to do so in the comments down below. As a rule, I typically get my jus poured off of the brisket first. Let's make sure the stopper is down. Get the jus poured off of the brisket, then we slice it up. I have a link in the description for this fat separator. I got it off of Amazon a long time ago. The link to the store has an updated version. The newer ones still have handles. Mine is so old, my handle broke off, but it still works. Have my handy dandy 12-inch straight edge meat slicing knife. I'm gonna get my knife in between the two muscles. You'll feel the fat, and I'm riding the fat line, straddling it, and then curving the knife up. And I'm gonna come back, flip it over, and I have 15 minutes to get this done before I need to pick up taste tester number 3 from school. There we go. Pick this up. I'm just gonna move it out of the way. That is the point. This is the flat. I'm gonna get my flat turned over and start slicing. The grain of this brisket is running this way, so I'm gonna cut perpendicular to the grain. So we are going to take and I will show you. There you go. Decent smoke ring on that brisket. But let's keep slicing. Watch your fingers. I have come close to slicing the tip of my thumb off, but I'm trying to hold this still. And these bits of the seasoning and bits of the board, I'm going to wipe off just so I don't make a mess on the floor. That comes from years of experience, not trying to have to clean up more than I have to, more than I need to. My knife is due to be sharpened, and I'm struggling just a little bit here, but it is working. I'm trying to make sure that I cut through all the way through and I don't have any straggling bits that are still connected. All right. Now, before I put this into my pan, I'm going to come and cut this into smaller portions. Again, watch your fingers, fingertips. I'm going to use my knife to pick up the brisket and put it into my pan. Back over to my board, and I'll straighten this up. Clean as I go along. Get this turned around. Now this piece, this down here is mainly just fat. There is a very little bit of meat there, but that is mainly just fat. So I'm gonna cut that off to square up the end of the point. And I'm gonna come in here at about 1.5 inches, 2 inches, and we're gonna slice with the grain. Then I'm gonna come back and turn these pieces 90 degrees perpendicularly, and this is more of the fat that was in between the muscles. But at this point, I'm gonna come in, slice against the grain, so perpendicular to that first cut. So put it in the pan, and there is a little more of that fat. We're just going to cut it off. And again, perpendicular to the first cut. There is a cross section of the point. All right, so when I get towards the end, or the butt end of the brisket, what I do is I'll flip the brisket on its, basically on that cut side, so it lays flat. And I'm just gonna come in and cut right this way. That into the pan. And this last bit, there's a huge amount of fat that was just on that tail end. So we're just gonna cut that off, and this is it. And say, there you have it. But this is the end of the brisket. All right. All of this is gonna go in the trash. There's nothing I can do with that. And I'm gonna get this covered up, and there you have it. Brisket start to finish on the Traeger, sliced up. And now what I'll have to do is I'm gonna portion it out, and I'm going to take a portion and put it into a half catering pan and deliver it to the person who took the primary bit of this. The other portions I'm gonna probably put into 1-ish pound packs and vacuum seal them, and then I'll sell those off individually. Anyway, thank you guys so very much as always for watching. If you haven't already, I would greatly appreciate it if you took a moment to subscribe. If you like what you saw today, if you learned something, please leave me some feedback down below. And I guess cue taste test number 3.
More butter, baby.